everybody, welcome to this Q&A. It's been a while since I've done one of these, and the reason is because, really honestly, I felt like people just stopped caring about them, so I took a little break and went away from it for a while, but you might have noticed a little bit more activity around here with some free classes, and I've been getting questions on Instagram and via email, so I thought, let's do another Q&A. Okay, so first question is about advancement in yoga. Why is it that I'm doing yoga every day, but I'm not getting any better? Okay, so tough love time. My theory on these kinds of things is if you're doing the same thing every day, or you kind of have the same routine mapped out that you never ever change, it's no wonder you're not improving. You have to sort of give your body new things to adapt to in order to get better. So if you're sitting here doing the same Warrior 2 every single day, you're probably gonna get better at doing that, like you can hold it longer probably, but just because you're doing Warrior 2 for longer isn't really gonna help you with getting your handstands or doing anything more advanced than that. So in order to really find progress, you have to push yourself outside of the comfort zone in order to get there. And some people can do that on their own. Some people need a little bit of an external extra push, like some kind of guided program or a teacher or something like that. So look for something, whether it's a teacher or a program or some way that can kind of push you outside of that comfort barrier and get out of your comfort zone. That's the only way you're going to get better. Okay, another question I got this several a lot of different variations of this question, and it's like, okay, I'm taught to do X in yoga, but I change it a little bit and do Y instead. Is that okay? I would definitely want you to feel like, yes, that is completely fine. So if you have to change a pose to fit your specific body type, or you have to modify something a little bit because the other way that you've been taught just doesn't feel right, seriously, yes. Don't take your practice so seriously that you can't bend the rules a little bit when they need to be bent. So I've always been of the mindset that yoga poses are meant to adapt to our bodies, not the other way around. So the pose is really kind of irrelevant. It's there to serve you. And if you need to change it to make it work, change it. Another question I got, which I thought was interesting, was how do you deal with business bullies or people constantly trying to bring you down? And this question, I kind of want to say, I don't. I think if there was somebody in my life who was doing that to me or in my direction, they wouldn't be in my life for much longer than that. Now, I guess in business, in that setting, like there's always those people that are difficult to work with or who are really negative, and in that case, just try to limit your exposure to those people and instead surround yourself with people who actually support you. It might not be a huge group of people. I can attest to that. Like in my case, I don't have like a lot of yoga teachers talk about having this tribe of people and like women and da-da-da-da. I don't have that, but I have a few key people who I know I can lean on. So focus on them instead of the ones who are trying to bring you down. Are you still working on your book? Yes and no. The book is still happening, but probably not, well, definitely not until next year. I sort of put it on the back burner for a while because I started getting overwhelmed and discouraged and I just needed time away from it. You know, I needed a break. We had to take a break. So I'm gonna revisit it in January of 2019 and go from there. Okay, how do you stay motivated and stick to your decision to lead a healthy lifestyle? That is hard. It is very hard to do. It's a lot harder than it looks for some people on social media. The thing that helps me the most is knowing why I'm doing it. So I try not to wake up on Monday morning and say, okay, today is the day, I'm changing everything, I'm no longer doing this, I'm replacing all these habits with these other habits. Instead, anytime I make a change, I figure out why I want to make that change and then sort of go from there. Because if you find your why, if you can identify why you want to do something differently, it makes it a lot easier to stick with. So try not to operate out of sheer discipline forever and ever, but instead have kind of a bigger reason for why you're doing what you're doing. Next question, what helps you find confidence in yourself and what helps you take risk? I feel like this question was asked as if I have confidence, therefore I take risk, and that's not really the case with me. What helps me find confidence in myself is doing things that I didn't necessarily think I could do. So for me, those things are often things that take discipline. I'm not very disciplined, so anytime I do something that requires discipline, I feel very good about that. And that's anything. Little things, big things, doesn't matter. Those are the things that I kind of make me feel confident and capable. What helps me take risk? Taking little risk. I don't take a lot of risk. I take like small, measured, calculated, strategic risk, but I'm not a risk taker per se. And I don't even think you have to take massive, huge risk all the time in order to be successful or to be fulfilled. Somebody's child is losing their mind outside. So what helps me take those risks, I guess, is listening to my intuition and not taking a risk so huge that it's going to be like risking my whole livelihood or something like that. Okay, last question for today. Did you save enough money to cover expenses for your first 6 to 12 months before quitting your job? So for those of you that don't know, a few years ago, I left a job in finance to pursue Bad Yogi full time. And to answer your question about whether or not I saved, the answer was yes. I quit my job in January, and that October before, I decided I was going to leave. And starting that October, I had already had a little bit of money saved, but I decided to just pack away as much money as possible. And at that point, I really built up as much of a teaching schedule as I possibly could. I contacted every studio, every person I knew who could get me into a studio, and I built up my schedule ahead of time for January, and I just saved as much as I could. And there was a follow-up question to that as well. If I had enough, like how long it took me before I started making money and didn't have to dig into that savings. I didn't really have to dig into my savings because I had a little bit of a plan before I quit. So like I said, I was teaching. I had enough classes lined up because I planned ahead, and I was able to cover most of my expenses every single month until well into that year when we started making money with business. So yeah, I think having a plan and having some next steps mapped out for yourself is a good way to go. Don't just leave your job and have no idea what you're gonna do. Have a plan, have a savings if you can before you make that leap, and know that it won't always be forever that stressful if you're taking the next right steps. But it is a little bit stressful at the beginning. Okay. So those are your yoga questions and yoga/business of yoga questions answered for today. Let me know if you have any more that I didn't answer in the comments down below. Head to badyogi.com for more free stuff, yoga classes, resources, that kind of a thing. If you want a more substantial yoga practice just to maintain what you do at home, try out my digital studio. I'll link to that in the description below. You get a free 7-day trial. And of course, if you want a little bit more than that, you don't want to have to pick a class, you just want me to guide you through the whole thing, check out my 8-week yoga program, the Perfect Body Yoga Program, which I will also link to in the description down below. Thank you again for joining me today. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you right back here next time.